The Sex Ed with Tim podcast is recorded on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands.
You're listening to Sex Ed with Tim.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sex Ed with Tim podcast. I am your host, Tim, a certified sex educator. I identify as a chaotic homosexual. And I walked into my sister's room and tripped on her bra. I guess it was called a booby trap. There you go. That's one. Let's see how many.
That's bad. That's really bad.
That's bad. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. Let's see how much more we can do by the end of this recording. So, listeners, if you didn't get a hint from that really bad joke, we're going to be talking all about lingerie, specifically men's lingerie. And who better to talk about that topic than Jules Parker from Moot. Jules, how are you, my friend?
I'm very well, thank you very much, and thank you for having me on today.
Oh my goodness, it is an absolute pleasure. I discovered your profile on the matchmaker.fm website, and I instantly needed to talk to you because I love the work that you do, but I don't want to be the one to sing your praises. Please do the honors. How about you tell us a little bit about yourself, Jules?
Well, I mean, I'm being English. I'm not so good at singing my own praises. But no, I mean, I started Moot. We went live about 3 years ago. Sorry, 2 years, just over 2 years ago. But as a concept, as an idea, I was thinking about it for a lot longer. And the sort of the idea of Moot was based on I couldn't find underwear that I would want to wear that fitted me. There's no point trying to fit yourself into women's underwear because it's clearly not made for my gender. So, that was really the sort of the idea behind it. I didn't want to overly feminize the products. I wanted to be fairly masculine, fairly assertive in the way we were doing it. And so that was really, I guess the beginning of Moot. As an individual, I have always been interested in underwear for women and for men as a garment, as a piece of clothing. For something that's relatively, small is a really very powerful object. When a body is decorated in something that's beautifully made and beautifully designed, it's greater than the sum of its parts. Do you know what I mean? There's a power, there's an energy to it. And I never saw it as something that was objectifying women. I saw it as something that was actually probably quite empowering for women. And I kind of wanted a little bit of that. I'd looked around. There's an American company called X-Dress. They produce products for men who want to cross-dress, but I didn't really want to cross-dress. I just wanted to wear nice underwear. By putting something nice onto your body does not fundamentally change what you are. I mean, it can change if you want it to, but it doesn't have to change. Yeah, that was really the beginning of Moot. And since starting it and sort of going live with it, it's been really interesting to see the response from individuals and larger corporations. We've been shut down by pretty much most of the social media platforms because I guess their sort of robots behind the scene find us a little bit too intimidating. So a picture of a guy wearing some of our products will never, we couldn't get that through at all. But a woman wearing the same product, it's acceptable. Now, if it's acceptable for a woman, then it should be acceptable for a man. And equally, if it's not acceptable to show a man like that, then it should not be acceptable to show a woman. So there was no balance to it. And we often spoke about this. And I think it's that the guys who, and I'm saying guys because it probably was men, who did all the algorithms behind the scenes, did it from a male-based bias. And that was, I think, the reason it came sort of along that line. So we really struggled to get our message out there. And it's probably our biggest sort of movement forward as far as getting the word out is through guys like yourself, who are individuals working in some cases quite tirelessly to get their message and their narrative through, and breaking their own barriers and bringing people like myself in who have a sort of there's a continuity of voice here. You know, we are all about breaking down barriers and breaking it down what we think is acceptable and not acceptable, because it's conditioned into us.
Yeah, that's interesting, because why is it that, like, what makes lingerie so inherently feminine? Why is it that only the girls get to wear it? I mean, I want to wear some too.
Yeah. But why? I mean, this is precisely, you know, I mean, I've spent a lot, because it's my business, I do spend a lot of time thinking about it. And there's a lot of things that have, over the last few years, that have come through, and you know, you start to get a greater understanding of it. And, you know, things like high heels were invented for men. It was, you know, people within the courts would wear high heels. Stockings, invented for men. If you look into the natural world and you look at a peacock, it's a decorative, you know, most of the male of the species are very highly decorated, not just birds, but animals. So the animal species decorates the man. And if you go back to certainly the French, pre-revolution French, the males within the court, massively decorated. And in Britain, again, very, very heavily decorated. And you know, we had the British courtiers, and they were called dandies, and they were quite feminine in the way they presented, you know, very slight builds, and they were, you know, they were very decorated, very sexual beings. And I guess then we came to the Victorian period, where everything became a little bit dour, and we got rid of, you know, colour. We didn't talk about relationships and sex, and everything became a little bit compressed. And men have just gone into that sort of dumbed down version of where they are. And so now as fashion choices, you know, we're just starting to see changes. But up until very recently, you know, men wore boxer shorts or briefs, you know, brown trousers maybe, but generally blue trousers. It was very, very restricted. And I think women have rightfully found their voice. And initially, I think, you know, if you look at the 60s, there was a real strong and quite aggressive feminist movement to win them some rights, which they absolutely deserved. And now, of course, they've really got themselves, not quite, I wouldn't say, but getting very much towards the level of men within sort of society. But men, I think, in many ways have been a little bit sort of left behind and feeling in some cases kind of impotent by this, because they don't know quite where they are. Does that sort of make sense to you?
Yeah, because with women's clothing, at least, they have a variety of choices, and there's so much to choose from. And it's not just like outerwear, it's the underwear too. Whereas men, what do we get? Boxers, briefs. I mean, that's really all I can think of when it comes to our choice of underwear. And they come in white or black, like if you go to your nearest department store or whatever. And I feel like, you know, it's ignoring a very essential part of men's choices in terms of fashion and self-expression.
Yeah. But do you so why do you think then that we've got to this situation?
I guess because they really just want to doll up women, or like society as a whole just really wants to doll up women and really cater into the whole capitalist drive for getting their money and feeding off of their desire for more, right? Whereas with men, it's just all you have to do is function. You don't need to look good in your underwear. No one's going to look at you in your underwear. So just pick whatever you need and go, right? It's more of function over fashion. Whereas in women, it's fashion over function. Because I have seen some women's underwear that don't look the most comfortable or don't look, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, the same, you say the same about some of our
Some of ours too. Yeah.
In many cases, our products are not particularly. They're not built for comfort. They are built for the emotional experience, and equally, the sexual experience. So we have some quite sort of outrageous item. I think men have been left behind. I think really that's what I really look at it as. The fashion world. The fashion world, whilst there is a huge amount of very strong capitalist exploitative practices within it, there are equally, I think, there are a lot of very small fashion brands coming through that are trying as hard as they can to ensure that they're paying a living wage and to be as environmentally sort of conscious about what they're doing. And yet they are still offering a lot of choice to women. And for men, that is probably not the same. And I think it is changing. And there's some really, really lovely men's fashion around now that from small makers who are being responsible in the way they produce things. There isn't much, of course, in the way of underwear for men. It's still very much, the idea of buying a nice sort of pair of underwear. It might be buying silk boxers, but you couldn't buy much more than that. So we've kind of set up with this idea that our business, I run a second business alongside Moot, and the second business is quite serious. It's something you can't take lightly. I'm not saying that you should take any business lightly, but it's a very serious business. With Moot the intention was to make it fun. We have to make this business fun. It's not about the bottom line and how much profit can we drive out of it. So part of that was ensuring that all of the manufacture we wanted to keep it in Britain, and we do keep it in Britain, whereas everyone was saying you go to the Far East because it'd be cheaper. We try to keep as many fabrics that are either what we call dead stock, so that means the end of the use for the big lingerie companies, what they cast off to save it being recycled. We will buy that from them and make our products from, there's enough fabric in it for us to run a product for quite a while, but there's not enough for them. So we'll do that. We have some lace, which we buy from a lace maker in France. And it's, I think, pretty much the last of the traditional lace makers based in Calais that we buy. So we try and be very ethical about it and make sure that we produce a product that's got a nice backstory. And we equally try to challenge as much as we possibly can people's perception of what men should and shouldn't do. And so that's why we've, Moot, we often sort of call it the underwear revolution and stuff like that. We're slightly anarchic, we love the idea of sticking our fingers up at what society says should happen. To the right people, that really resonates because they are our customers. That's what we want. It is. Do you have Marmite? Do you know what Marmite is?
What is that?
Marmite's a savoury sort of spread that you can put on toast. And it's a sort of a salty, odd English thing, I think. But in Britain, we call it's like Marmite, and you either love Marmite or you don't love it. There's no in between. You don't think, that's okay. So we always say we're a bit like Marmite. You either absolutely love what we do or you find it revolting. And that's kind of where we need to be, in that point where we connect with the people we want to connect with, and the rest of the people out there, they can go and do their own thing. Fine. We're not, don't need to be bothered by it. It's been interesting. One of the things which we found really interesting that still we're trying to sort of understand the full reasons behind it is the amount of women buying for their male partners.
Wow, really? You have a lot of women customers? Wow.
We have got about 40% of our customers are women buying for their partners.
Wow.
Which I think is such a fabulous, and I didn't see that happening. And now we don't ask, we try not to ask any customers about their sexual preferences or what they
because
identify
Moot is inclusive.
as.
It's for everyone.
Because it's irrelevant, completely irrelevant.
Because clothes don't care what's in between your legs.
No, not at all. When I've had the opportunity to talk with women about why have you been buying this for your partner, I've had a number of different and interesting answers. One was, the sort of the idea that she knew her husband or a partner would like it, but he wasn't confident enough to buy it. So she made the choice for him, which I thought, I can see that. Another one, which was quite surprising, was this woman said, well, I've never slept with somebody wearing lingerie. I have never felt somebody in lingerie. She was a heterosexual, in a married environment, so she hadn't been sleeping with girls, and she said, I really wanted to feel what a body was like, decorated with beautiful lingerie, and so you had that. So it was a really interesting. So you're getting these sort of nice little angles that I hadn't thought about. I really hadn't. In my mind, there's a group of sort of men. This is only, my sort of depth of my sort of mind, who are so sort of embarrassed by the idea of wanting to wear lingerie that they're almost waiting for their partners to leave the house when they can nip upstairs, put their fancy knickers on and go and do a day's work. And there are people who are, really suppressing those urges because they can't.
They have so much shame.
Yeah. And, so it's a really, it's a very, very, almost the sort of story behind Moot about the emotions and about how society views lingerie on men is actually probably greater and more important as a story than the actual underwear themselves. Do you know what I mean?
I totally understand what you mean, because for whatever reason, lingerie has some sort of statement that it gives, and it gives you a sense of power. I'm not exactly sure where or what that statement is or where that's coming from, but I love the fact that it's there. I'm just wondering now, why is it that men are so afraid to, maybe afraid and a little bit ashamed to express that side of themselves, right? It's more for the ladies.
That argument goes much, much further than underwear, doesn't it? Because, if you look at mental health within men, it's, it's a really big area of concern people are starting to wise up to it now, but they're not talking about it. Suicide rates of young men is massive compared to young women. And that's all to do with mental health. And so we have got, some real barriers to start breaking down. But men are struggling to talk about things that are emotionally sort of charged and difficult to sort of get into. I have conversations with some of my sort of male friends, and some of them almost would sort of, they struggle to even get into the topic of what we're talking about because they find it not offensive, but they find it so raw for them. They're uncomfortable. They'd rather not even talk about it. And, I keep on sort of saying, look, we're talking about a bit of fabric. Are we really struggling to talk about a piece of fabric? If we can't talk about a bit of fabric, how are we actually going to talk about really important things like emotions and, relationship issues? But
how do we talk about our feelings if you can't even talk about underwear?
Yeah, precisely. And it's a difficult thing. It's a really, really difficult thing. I mean, I do head up the business. Most of the pictures or most of the photographs on our website, are me.
Which are beautiful.
Bless you.
They're absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I understand that you're married, you have a wife and kids, but may I just say how hot those photos are?
My wife, she does get a little bit sort of, I've got quite a few male fans.
Yeah, how does your wife feel about that?
she's cool about it because, ultimately you've got to be honest about, I'll sort of say to Claire, if I found a man attractive, I would be very happy to say he's gorgeous, because we can still genuinely find our own sex attractive, yet not necessarily have to be gay. And why shouldn't we do that? So she's pretty cool about the whole. No, she's really supportive, completely gets it, understands why I choose to do what I do. But that doesn't mean to say that our journey's been easy all the way through. I guess I'd have been in my 40s, probably, yeah, I'm 57 now. So probably late 40s. And I always used to wear thongs and sort of stuff, but it was quite safe. It wasn't feminine. It wasn't feminine anyway. And I was sort of saying to Claire that, look, I quite fancy something a little bit more feminine, a bit more like the sort of underwear that you wear, but fits me. And she felt, I think, very threatened. I think she wasn't sure where it was going to go. Did she feel that she's losing me to some sort of life sort of crisis, and I was going to sort of announce that I was gay and my whole world was going to be, and everything that she had obviously trusted and built up was going to be threatened by that. And so it was a little while for her to process this idea that by putting on a pair of fancy knickers in no way can make you gay. You either are gay or you're not, but putting bloody knickers on will not make you gay, But this sort of, but society, and she's a very open-minded, intelligent lady, but still felt a little bit like she's losing her Jules to something that she didn't understand and know. So it took a while, I think, for her to process it. So I can see it. I can understand why people are a little bit anxious about it and how it can be a little bit threatening to them. But generally a conversation and it's all put straight and, we get it. But I find it's very interesting. We have a lot of conversations on this topic at work. Myself and Anna and Lucy, another girl there, and we'll talk about this perception of why and what and how a simple bit of fabric can have such a powerful emotional effect upon you. And I was saying, that in my relationship with Claire, my sexual relationship with Claire is a very honest and open relationship between the two of us. But we will play with toys. We'll do all sorts of things. You can quite comfortably within a relationship be using butt plugs and toys like that and have no question about your sexuality or feel intimidated within a relationship. But if you put on a fancy pair of knickers, it is kind of more powerful than toys. And now why is that? And so you start looking at it and you think, well, isn't it? It's very interesting. Society has got itself into this situation where we're getting our adverts that we're trying to put on Facebook or Insta or whatever pulled. I mean, the amount of stuff we get pulled, we don't even use Facebook now. We've given up with it because it's such a barrier. Yet we have a company over here called Love Honey. Love Honey, after 9 o'clock, can advertise their products on mainstream TV, not on a sort of a channel that you aren't going to see.
Love Honey will be on the BBC?
Love Honey, well, they don't advertise on the BBC, but on ITV, on Channel 4, that they'll have an advert after 9 o'clock for Love Honey products. So during their adverts, they are advertising Love Honey. Yet we get adverts pulled because it shows a guy in a skimpy pair of knickers.
What?
You go and figure.
No.
And it is such a really peculiar situation we've got. Really very, very difficult. We were going to do a morning television program with one of the bigger channels, and it was a 9 o'clock slot, a 9:30 slot. And we were pulled the day before the television because they felt that there were a lot of children. It was during the COVID lockdown. There'd be a lot of children present, and they didn't think it was an acceptable topic to be talking about with children.
Why?
And talking about men having a different choice of underwear. And so the controlling sort of body was a company called Ofcom. Ofcom are the controlling, legal body who look after content that goes out. And the lawyers of the television program said, I don't think we can get this through Ofcom. Therefore, it didn't go. Nothing to do with the television program. It was, so now that's what you're up against. Now, I'm not here to argue for or against. I'm just saying this is the sort of barriers that you come across. And it's really interesting. I mean, that whole thing then brings into some really interesting situation because, myself as a white middle class, I guess, lower middle class guy who's had a fairly Well, I haven't had a privileged life, but I haven't struggled with, I have no struggle with sexuality or race or anything. I've just had a normal white upbringing and fairly privileged and not been exposed to any form of judgment or oppression. And to see a little tiny bit of that with my own business and how it affects that, and see the stupidity and the nonsense of it all. If you are somebody of color or somebody of a different, not even identifying as a male, you see, the whole transgender thing, or people who are gay, you suddenly then opened my mind up to understand the battle that these people are going through. And so, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely. So it's a great leveler for me to see it. I felt in many ways that it did me the world of good to come up against this, because it did level us and it did make us just think how lucky we really are.
We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Yes!
Hey, you sick motherfuckers! I've got a special treat for you. Need a new toy to spice up your sex life? Head over to loveshop.ca/sexedwithtim and get yourself a cock ring, a dildo, a vibrator, or even a life-sized sex doll. Damn, I guess love really does come in all shapes and sizes. Get 15% off your entire order when you use code SEXEDWITHTIM at checkout. They're shipping to all of Canada and the United States because North America is horny. That's loveshop.ca/sexedwithtim and use code SEXEDWITHTIM for 15% off your entire purchase. Happy orgasm! Do you like feeling sexy and looking sexy? Of course you do. Only my listeners are sexy as fuck. I have partnered with fetishwear designer Dale Kuda to bring you the hottest deals on custom jockstraps, harnesses, hats, and more. Head over to dalekuda.com, that's DALEKUDA.com, and use code SEXEDWITHTIM at checkout for 25% off the entire store. Yeah, you heard me. 25% off. And cherry on top, free shipping. Oh my god. I have a few of the stuff that he has made for me, and girl, I'm wearing it right now. I'm wearing like a little jock strap so that I could easily just like slip a little butt plug or dildo every now and then here and there, and I'm on the train, I'm just like, thank you, Dale. That's dalekuda.com with the code SEXEDWITHTIM for 25% off your entire purchase with free shipping. With a deal like that, I swear I could come buckets, honey.
The show is about to begin.
Yes!
So, yeah, no, that's really interesting that even you struggle as a straight white man to get something as simple as men's lingerie on there. What are some of the other kinds of backlash that you faced, like from, a political standpoint? Like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that to the children or whatever.
Well, I mean, one of the things that makes me we get this quite regularly is you get complaints about, I've looked at your website. Every time I look at your website, I'm offended. I've looked at it 12 times and I'm still offended. Don't look at the bloody website then, And this idea, some people protest. There are those who protest too much, and you do think, well, hang on, mate, I'm not sure that you quite.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have the people who protest too much, which is fine. Do you know? The backlash and the political backlash it just not happened. The support we've had from people and their partners have been, some of the emails we receive have been really quite extraordinary, really emotional, raw comments of not just support for us, but because I head up the business, I'm absolutely out there. I will take my clothes off and show our knickers. I've got no problem with that at all. And because I also say, this is me. They know exactly who I am. I'm a family man, and my kids know about it. They all respect what I do. it sort of, it gives people a little bit of honesty, and they see if, well, yeah, it's good, he's doing it, well, and they join that band of people who are breaking down those sort of taboos. Yeah, I really touching letters from people who haven't even purchased from us, but are there and supporting us, and they take the time to write letters of support. We have so little negative comments. It's quite interesting. We did a post, one just thing that made me smile. It was an interesting comment. We were doing a load of photographs of leg wear, what we call hold up stockings. So they got elasticated tops, so you pull them up, yeah. And we were doing a group of photographs, and one of them was me sitting almost in a semi laying down position in a chair, in a yellow chair. And because I'm a tall guy, by default I've got quite long, slim legs. The photograph was really absolutely from the side of me, and you could see just a bit of my backside, my thighs, and into legs with polka dot stockings or whatever I had on them. And you could just see, and we were really pleased about it because we got it through the sensors at Facebook or Instagram. I think it must be Instagram. You could just see the top of my penis. But the robots didn't see this.
Yeah.
So we put this post out, and Anna hashtagged it into all sorts of different sites, and it finished up on a site with a lot of photographs of women wearing suspenders and stockings. And you were obviously at this point, there were a lot of guys perving over women in suspenders and stockings, hosiery, until one guy managed, just through looking, probably halfway through masturbating, saw a little bit of my penis and was horrified that he's probably having a wank whilst looking at a guy. But that was the bit that made me. So you're happy to perv and look at endless women with their legs. You still like the image because you were looking at it in detail, and then you were outraged because you now can see a little bit of penis. Yet you are quite happy to do that with a woman, and you wouldn't have been outraged. And I just thought, well, yeah, and yeah, I mean, so once that this guy posted something about it, little did he know that him posting it did our numbers the world of good, because of course everybody was then looking at this because he had posted about it. You then got the guys saying, brilliant, it's fantastic, love to see it. And the others that were utterly shocked by the fact that you might be able to see a little bit of penis. Yet if they'd seen a bit of women's breast, they'd have been very happy. So it's kind of a weird thing. They were I like those photographs where I find it, I don't know whether it's a man or a woman, but I find them ever so sexy. And I think those photos are such a brilliant, when you can get those images that you are so, oh God, you look gorgeous, but you don't know whether you're looking at a man or a woman. And I think if you can get that into a photograph, you've got a really powerful image.
Yeah, and I don't think it should matter, because whatever you're attracted to, you're attracted to. It's
Absolutely.
hot is hot, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And it's fine to question things, but don't throw a fit over it. It's fine. You're okay. What you're feeling is a natural.
You can be attracted to somebody of the same sex. Yeah. That's okay.
Exactly. You can be straight and find the same sex attractive, and you don't have to lose your shit over it. So I'm wondering then, what are the general attitudes in the UK in terms of gender and expression and sexuality?
I'm not sure I don't think I'm probably the right person to answer that, because
That's okay.
I'm coming, but because you've got it coming from a white sort of heterosexual male, but I will answer it from my perspective as I see it. And that may not be truly representative, because I can't represent something that I'm not. But my feeling is that barriers are being broken down at a rate, really, really being broken down. I think people are much more accepting. And when I look at younger people, I've got 3 boys. The eldest is 20. And when I look at my lads and their group of friends, how they are viewing sexuality and relationships, either of same sex or, with females, they are very much more open, much more open to more fluidity in relationships, and equally with clothing. I was up in London. My eldest son lives up in London, and I was up there last week, and just walking around London, it is a joy, a true joy to see young people able to wear whatever they want and express themselves openly. And so you will see both genders wearing whatever they would want to wear, or presenting themselves as whatever they want to be. So I think I think the future is actually very, very bright. The dinosaurs like myself of my older generation, we forget that we are the ones who are kind of moving out. Now, I won't be right on this, but I'm pretty much right. Glastonbury, the music festival, was on a couple of weeks ago. Some of the older musicians playing there, talking to my lads, they're looking at them and they said, well, who's that? And you think, well, hang on, you can't not know who this guy is. But the younger generation, of course, they don't know who somebody in the 70s or 80s are, however big the Beatles were when they were younger. Things move on. And so those dinosaurs are, true dinosaurs. So I'm very, very optimistic. I think the tide has turned. It's just going to take a little while to move through. I think for our business, we haven't yet sort of found our feet. I think our business will come in our direction. I also hope that because there's real integrity within our business, in as much as I'm not a corporate who's moved into this just to try and profit out of it. I'm making underwear because every single thing that I make, I would wear and I would want to wear. I'll head the business up. We are very open with our accountants, with our accountancy. We're open as far as our profits. We are, I think we bring a real integrity to the way a business should be run. We will always find our audience. The public who choose to spend their money with one company rather than a different company are the ones who are going to change the way that we purchase things in the future. It's no point moaning about the big corporations, whether they're, it doesn't matter who they are. It's no point even mentioning them. The easiest way to change it is don't give them your money. And if enough people stop giving them their money, the Amazons of the world and all those people will start to feel it. We can change it. We can change it by choosing to spend our money in different ways. And the internet, of course, whilst it is difficult and it is hard to find your way around, it does open up different markets. And there's some fabulous makers of all sorts of different things that can be accessed through the internet. So my sort of feeling is, we have a younger audience who are looking at things in a different way. They're looking at life and gender and, all that sort of that subject in an entirely different way. And the way that we choose to spend our money is powerful, is hugely powerful. And the big corporations can't do what I'm doing. They can't do it because they can't bring integrity to it.
They like to cut costs and they're focused on their bottom line too much. Yeah. Whereas you are more like ethical, which I love. There's this line in your website where it says, "We are proudly not the cheapest." And there's a reason for your pricing is because you're not like exploiting anyone. You're giving everyone in your company a fair wage.
And it's for me, the company that do all our making is based in Leeds, which is a town or a city in the north of England. And it is the most remarkable company. It's run by women, employs women as seamstresses and sewers, and it's owned by women. And you go in there and they bring their dogs into work, and it's a community that is loving and caring and supportive. And it's the way business should be, because it cares for one another and it respects one another. It's very multicultural because of the environment. So, Leeds is a city that's got a lot of quite sizable ethnic minorities living there. So you have got quite a mixture of people working in there. And it really is something that the society should be proud of. But because it's in a backwater, in the back of Leeds, no one's really singing the song and telling people about them. But there is behind the scenes, and I'm sure up most back streets in most cities, there is the same ethical business going, and it will grow, and it will grow.
Yes, I love that. I have so much hope for where Moot is going to go, because I'm about to buy my first garment from Moot. I just have a very, very difficult decision. Like, they're all so beautiful. How do I pick?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We have two entries into it. We have a range called our Hollywood range, and that's really our daily wear range. And people who are used to wearing boxers and don't want to go too far and too edgy, they will buy Hollywood briefs, and so we sell quite a lot of that. And the other entry into it, which is interesting, is the new range we've done called the Crown Jewel range.
Entry Crown Jewel.
Yeah, so you can see where we're going there. I would have called the business Crown Jewels, but somebody else already had it. And so the Crown Jewels, I don't know whether you looked at them or not, but they're in a highly decorative piece. It was very interesting trying to make this piece because you can't put them on without getting an erection. So, you're trying to and seriously, when you're trying to photograph the things, you need to sort of sit down in a darkened room. Just give me a few minutes, get myself together here, because
and then just let me let me admire myself for a hot second.
So we had quite a laugh making that, but those seem to be the two ways in. It's Crown Jewels or it's Hollywood. I love everything we make because I honestly, so privileged.
It's
To
beautiful.
have a creative mind, and a slightly sexually based creative mind that enables me to sort of think, why do we do this? Why can't we? And the Crown Jewels range, which is, I don't know how to describe it, but it's completely like sort of a decorative piece that will go around your bits. And so we were
thinking cock and balls.
Cock and balls.
It goes around your cock and balls. Yeah.
I don't know how much I can say. That's why I'm a bit careful.
Please swear as much as you can.
Okay. So you put this. So you've got like a thong strap with a circle at the end, which is just big enough. It's non-stretch, but if you sort of push your balls through, and then you pull your willy through it, and it's quite constricting. So it's a bit like a cock ring to a degree.
That's beautiful.
And it's quite, I would say inflaming would be the word I'd use. And so we were messing around with different measurements.
It arouses you.
Oh, it does arouse you. Yeah, it does arouse you. Can you imagine though, from a maker's point of view, I'm thinking, God, we can make that, can't we? And the girls, well, not all girls, there's a guy there as well, said, yeah, come, let's do it. So we start messing around, and there's the product. We made it. And so it's very gratifying, for somebody who likes to wear these products, to just have the next creative mind, think, oh, why do we do that? And get all excited about it. And I do get stupidly excited over things. And, the next meeting we're thinking, oh, yeah, we could do this. We could have something and do this and have the next sort of product based upon nothing other than, would I want to wear it? And I'm kind of working on the basis that if I like it, I hope other people do. And so far, people are sort of supporting.
Yeah, that's great. So is that really the basis of your creative process? I want to wear it.
Yeah.
Or do you think more like, how well would I, or how hot do I look when I'm fucking and I'm wearing this?
There is that. There's a lot of things you're looking at. I mean, if you're looking at stuff, at a garment an open garment that you're wearing to have sex, you are very aware. Is it holding me properly? Is it, are you actually being held as you want to do? We do a lot of work where we'll try and put a sort of elasticated sort of area behind your balls, so to pull them forward a bit, so that it sort of presents them in a more full package, as it were. So they're not dangling down; they're coming a bit forward. So of course, so when you're having sex, you've got much more contact with your balls as well. So that you know, it's a much more fulfilling experience, I think, from a man's point of view. So there is a lot of things, you're driving things forward with an idea of simply how would that perform in bed. Equally, a lot of our products, or a number of our products, we are looking at how would that be to wear it all day. It's, you know, we've got a balance to meet here. And I think we try and cater for both areas. I think there will probably be more movement towards the much more sexual products.
Yay!
Well, because it sells well. It's more, I think, exciting, more challenging. You know, we've got on the Crown Jewels range, we're at the moment just thinking about and talking about and drawing up some ideas for some product that on the back side of it will have a sort of decorating strings that will all attach to the back of a little butt plug. So you almost wearing like a harness that's plugged in, as if you want to put it like that. So rather than just a plug, it's got a decoration that comes into a sort of this garment around you. So there's some exciting sort of products, and clearly that's only got one. That's, you know, you wear that and it's only going in one direction. You're not wearing it to go shopping. I mean, you can do, but that's
I would. I've done it before.
No, and people do, and you know, but we know what people are buying these products for. Equally, we don't want to debase what we're doing. We don't want to make rubbish. We know that everything has to be beautifully made, but it can be very sexual. You know, very, very sexual and still beautifully made. It's, for us, it's about looking at sort of an area that we can't find products that I would want to wear, and areas that haven't been developed. On the sex sort of side of things, most underwear around that are almost novelty items. And there's no real integrity to these products. And we're trying to say, look, we can still have a product here that is clearly sexual, highly sexual, but equally beautiful. And so that's what we're trying to bring to it.
I mean, not that something sexual is ugly, but like, you know, it can be both like aesthetically pleasing and functions well in the bedroom. And it's just like, it's absolutely amazing what you do. And like I'm gushing over the photographs. I have a couple of them here. I'm like, wow, Jules is packing. I will attest to that. Listeners, please go on to the Moot website and just like admire the crown jewels, as it is rightfully called. I mean, again, because wow.
But that's part of what we're doing. It's not really about exposing yourself and sort of,
it's a form of expression. It's a
honesty.
radical.
It's about real honesty. This is the product we are selling, and this is what it looks like. Don't be shocked if you're on our website buying any of our products. They're all a bit shocking. So, you know, we don't really do safe products. To bring honesty to it, it's no point putting just a paid model there and standing in the back out of the way counting your money. You know, you have to be facing it up and honest in the way you present yourself.
I think that the power of lingerie just comes down to that: honesty and vulnerability, and a radical form of self-expression. And I think what you're doing with lingerie, with men's lingerie, is so beautiful. And it is like, it's a form of protest in its own way.
It is.
That is so creatively, like, just endearing. And I just want to give you all my money, but I don't have enough money to buy every single piece of your garment.
Now, I mean, we're a very small business and we're still finding our feet, but we so want, you know, I'm from an age where punk was very prevalent in my young days, and that anarchic approach to like, fuck you, I'm not, if you say turn left, I'll turn right, just because I'm not going to comply with your, and my whole life has been walking my path. I've got 3 lovely boys, but they're home educated because I'm not sending them to state education because I don't want them to take that narrative that
standardized,
the state,
narrow.
So they've all been at home and they've been educated, and they are wonderful. I'm so proud of where they are, but I'm not, it is absolutely not complying to what the state says we should comply to, and try and breaking down those barriers. And so I think, as we move forwards, we will always be shocking. We will always be anarchic. We will never be vanilla. We won't do that.
Don't be vanilla.
We've got to just keep on rocking it as much as we can. And so that is part of our challenge. If we upset people, then I'm very happy. We've upset the people who need to be upset.
Yes. Because you're upsetting the right people.
Yeah.
And you're attracting the right kind of attention.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? And it's not done without,
you're not malicious about it.
No, nothing at all. Absolutely not at all. We are just hopefully making some people think about having that second thought about some of their ideas, that it's not their fault that they've got these ideas. It's society's fault that they have the ideas, but they're not opening their mind up to thinking, well, is that right or not right? It's a kind of a weird thing. I've spoken to a few people about, underwear. I said, well, look, why didn't you just get a pair, try them. If you don't like it, well, just don't wear them again. It's only a pair of knickers. It's sort of this weird sort of, I've always waxed. I don't like pubic hair. I've never done pubic hair at all. So I've always waxed. And a lot of people have said, yeah, but you've got no pubic hair. And I said, well, if I change my mind, 6 weeks down the road, I will have pubic hair.
Pubic hair. It's going to come back.
It's not a big deal, guys. It will grow back. So if you just, and my advice is to, even on the pubic hair side, is try it. Just try it. You might love it. Your partner might love it. But if it doesn't work, don't worry. It'll grow back. It's not, it's not that big a deal.
Wait, did you just say 6 weeks?
No, it'd be longer than 6 weeks. I get waxed.
I was like, I'm jealous because I have to go get waxed like every 2-3 weeks. My hair grows so fast.
Well, no, I do about 5 or 6 weeks, I think, between waxing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous.
You see, I'm a lot older than you, so maybe it's been pulled out for so many bloody years that the follicles are giving up.
That's true. My follicles and my eyebrows and my hair from all the bleaching that I'm doing, it's probably dying out. But I've been waxing for as long as I can remember, and it's still growing a little too quickly.
What I found it really interesting, the guy who used to wax me, I've changed because there's somebody locally doing it now, but it was really interesting. He was from Brighton originally. Now, Brighton is a seaside town on the south coast of England, has had for a long time a very large and vocal gay community, and it is quite a centre for people who are challenging gender, sort of, and so it has always attracted that type of character. So now I was chatting to him. So when you're laying on the couch naked, you've got nothing to hide at this point. You're just talking, and someone's pulling hair out of your testicles. So at this point, you are as naked as you can be. So it's kind of, you have very open and honest conversations. But so I was chatting to him. I said, over the years, when you started off, how many of your clients were straight and how many were gay? And he only does men, does men. And he said when he started, he said all but probably only 2 or 3 of his clients were gay, and the straight guys would be having their backs done or their legs sort of, but it would never be sort of around the pubic hair. And so I said, and as we go forward, where are we now? And he said, probably 60 to 70% are now straight men being waxed, as opposed to almost none when he started off. And so it does show that there is change. People are taking pride of them. It's not it's not a case of
Control
having hair
of
or
their
not
looks.
having hair,
Yeah.
but it's just saying, I'm going to do it, making that decision for yourself, not whether it's right or wrong to have pubic hair, but to have the confidence and the ability to be able to say, yeah, I'm going to do that for me.
Things are changing, and definitely with the help of someone like you and your company, I think we're going to see that change much sooner. And I hope that I see such rapid change in this lifetime. I am just so honored for sharing this space with you, Jules. You're just absolutely fabulous. And I love the work that you do. I will continue to support you. Just let me get some money first from all my sponsors, and then I will come get myself my first pair of Moot garments. If you have anything else to say, like any parting words of wisdom or where people can find you, please share that with us.
Well, Moot, if you want to have a look. Feedback. We love feedback, good or bad. I don't care what it is, but I love feedback. Even if it's something like I'm clicking on this and I can't get through to that, just how the website is working, do you like it? Don't you like it? All that stuff. Are we touching the right nerves, the right buttons? What are we doing wrong? If you don't tell us what we're doing wrong, we can't put it right. We try our best, but we don't always get things right. So please, if you can go onto the Moot website, mootlingerie.com, and any feedback on anything, please give it. But I don't have any great words of wisdom or parting words. It's been lovely talking with you, and hopefully what I've been talking about resonates with some people out there, and it maybe gives them the confidence to walk their path. And that may be nothing to do with underwear. Doesn't matter what it is, but it comes down that we're here only once, and make that life really, really be as joyful as we can possibly make it. And you can only really be happy and truly happy and content and joyful if you're happy with yourself. So you start, the building blocks has to start with you. How can you possibly spread the word to other people if, not only spread the word, but it starts right there with you. And that's sometimes facing some difficult decisions, making some things that might, having some conversations that might be difficult, but you've got to start, you've got to do it. And so that's really, my message is, live your dreams, because, it's such a short life.
Short life. Yeah. And if the road to happiness just happens to include a pair of Moot underwear,
it does.
Then so be it.
I feel
it's necessary.
I every morning when I get out of bed, and I feel like almost like a kid in a sort of a candy shop or a sweet shop, as we would say, when I'm looking at my choice of underwear as what will I wear today? And it is, and I really do. I think, I'll put that on, and I really choose what underwear I'm going to wear, and it brings me so much joy, just those tiny little decisions. And you feel 6 inches taller. That you genuinely do. You walk tall. You feel that you've just made a little bit of self-love, a little bit of something for you, because most of your life is spent looking after your family or working or whatever else we have to do to get by.
But do something for yourself.
Yeah, and it's important.
Do something. Yeah,
it is.
I mean, I feel 6 inches taller when I wear my 6-inch heels, but
no, I wear heels. There's a company in New York called Syra or something. Syra. They make some outrageous boots. Beautiful. They're so fabulous. And I'll wear those out, and I'll strut down the road looking, not even look, I will feel fabulous. Whether I probably look stupid, but I fucking feel fabulous.
Yeah, and who the fuck cares about what anyone else thinks? Because what you did at the end of the day made you happy. And I think if anyone's going to take away anything from from this conversation, let it be that. Do whatever makes you happy, and fuck what everyone else thinks, because they're haters, and that means you're doing something right if you're offending them. Ah, my goodness, Jules, thank you so much for sharing this space with me.
We should have been in politics, shouldn't we?
Truly, we would the world would become a much better place if we all just enforced everyone to wear a nice piece of garment. You know, war would end. Famine is a thing of the past. We wouldn't be in COVID if we were all wearing the right things.
No, it'd be a different place. It'd be much.
It'd be a different world altogether. Yeah. But
more,
Jules,
more
thank
color.
you again.
More color.
Right. So much more colorful. But again, thank you so much for coming on the show and spreading your wisdom, spreading your legs, and just everyone that's listening, please go support Jules and his company. And please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're hearing Sex Ed with Tim. And I will see you all at the next episode. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Sex Ed with Tim podcast. Sex Ed with Tim is created and produced by me, Tim Lagman. Music is Aces High by Kevin MacLeod. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at GaySlutClown and at Sex Ed with Tim. You can also like and follow me on the Sex Ed with Tim Facebook page. If you enjoyed the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for all your support, you dirty little slut. Mwah.